You're never going to be the rock in someone's life. If they start to wake up, they're never going to come to you because you're not going to be a place of shelter. You're going to push them away. So
right, they're going to not want to wake up. What kind of reception is that?
You're going to be counterproductive, and I would encourage you to grow up yourself and to develop some compassion. And then secondly, I would say to those people who are in that process, it is slow. It is slow. It feels fast sometimes because you can look at where you were 6 months ago and say, who am I now? Like, it's my whole fundamental way of looking at the world has changed. And, you know, it can feel like it happened quickly, but it's a slow process. And when you're in the middle of it, like a lot of the people I've been talking to, they're in the really rocky part of it. And they're in the part of it where, like you said, it's incremental of this whole thing, this transformation in thought. And so, look, they're worried about what they're going to lose, and will it be worth it in the end? And they're dealing with, they're grieving because you will have, you're going to lose friends. Yes. People you thought were friends, even some people that you've known your whole life who you thought knew your heart, they are going to turn you into a caricature. They're going to turn you into something you're not. They're going to turn you into a literal, or a living straw man, and then light a match. They're going to say that you're all these things. They're going to call you names: Nazi, alt-right, white supremacist, fascist, troll. They're going to call you all that stuff, and then they're going to set that stuff on fire as if that's you. But sometimes that happens with family. And
absolutely.
On the other hand, there are people who they're trying to struggle to hold on to those relationships when you're in that rubble and you're trying to rebuild. And sometimes you can. I do know people who've taken this journey of awakening with their loved ones. And sometimes you can find just the right words to help them hear you. But most of the people, if you're especially depending on how isolated you were in your cult of belief, how I was in a very isolated echo chamber. I had really weeded everyone out who didn't agree with social justice. So depending on how much you've isolated yourself in it, you may lose most everyone. But here's what I want to say to those people, because I don't get to correspond with everyone who's feeling this, who watches the show, and I don't get to sit with everyone, is that you are going to make much better friends, and you're going to make friends who are open-minded, and friends who are brilliant and wise. And when you're in the process of mourning, you can't see that. You can't even believe that sometimes, because you don't even know who those people are yet. You haven't even met them yet. But you're
probably told they don't exist and they're all evil.
Yeah, and plus anybody knows this. If you're going through a breakup, even though you know you should be breaking up, you can't even imagine what might be in your future because you haven't met that next person or whatever. You have no idea what's coming, but you are going to make better friends, trust me. And you may lose your job, or you may decide that it's best to leave your job. I left my career. Carter left his. It's okay. Like, you will survive. I make so much less money now than I did when I was in the Matrix. But
preach it.
Yes, but
wait, you make money?
I sell vegetables now, Carter. But let me tell you something. I don't care. I wouldn't trade. There's no price tag. There's no price tag. I don't care the price. There's no price tag you can put on peace of mind, peace with yourself, joy, like the freedom to think, the freedom to speak. You can't put a price on any of that. And you're going to learn that there are things more important and more sustaining than the more like ephemeral things that you might be putting all that faith in right now, or that you might be afraid of losing. And by the way, you may not lose those things. Some people don't. But
yeah, go ahead.
Well, just let me round this out with that. You're going to lose prestige. You're going to lose, you're going to take hits in your social circles. Yes. You are going to have people you used to work with, or friends of yours, or people you went to school with, they're going to say all the things that they are about you. If you criticize their racism and sexism, they're going to say you're racist and sexist. If you criticize, if you point out the fact that they're in a cult, they're going to say that you've now joined a cult. Get ready for that. They will say that. Because that's what cults do. They isolate heretics. They go after people. It's not enough to let you leave the cult. They have to tear you down. And that's going to happen to you. But what will happen is that you will learn not to care so much what people think. If you have a lot of fear right now around that part of it, around the social credit part of it, or what people say, oh my gosh, it's going to be so freeing. You'll care less and less and less what people say. And those things will start to roll off your back. And then you'll find, here's what is so beautiful about it. When you stop censoring yourself and you don't let the fear control you anymore, and you start trying to speak truth and find truth, you are going to find out who you really are. You're not just going to find out who your real friends are. By the way, some of your friends will stick around, and you'll find out who those people are, and you'll become closer with them, like I became closer with Carter. But you'll also find out who you are, and you're going to find that you really like who you are. and you can't put a price tag on that. You can't. A lot of those people, I know I'm not giving you
No, you're going somewhere that I want to talk about really quickly before you move off of it. Because now's the time to say it based on what you just said. Look, you can't. If you don't admit where you are, you're paralyzed to move anywhere. You can't ever improve your situation if you don't admit first and accept fully where you are. And the fact is, if you've started to wake up, where you are is someone who started to wake up, someone who started to question these things. And in order to keep the people that you're afraid of losing, you would have to fake who you are, because you're already now someone who's questioning these things, and questioning those things isn't allowed. So you can't actually go back and have an authentic relationship. That relationship's authenticity is already over. Mourn it. It's gone. It's not authentic. The only possible way it can be salvaged as authentic is for you to continue in your authentic path and see if they can come along with you. But going back or suppressing yourself or pretending like it's not happening or just trying to fake it for the sake of a relationship, that person will no longer have a relationship with you. They will have a relationship with a dishonest version of you. It's a projection that you are faking for them, and that is not a deep relationship. It's not fulfilling. It won't actually work in the long run. So, some people, I know they get to this point where they're like, well, I don't want to move any further because I'll have to lose these relationships. The hard truth is, you've already lost the authenticity of those relationships because you're already not the authentic ally there that you were in the past. Now you're authentically not exactly in that spot. And if you can't be honest with them about that, then that relationship isn't to be. There's nothing there. There isn't an actual relationship. It's like when you date someone and you fake who you are at the beginning, it can't turn out well because they're not having a relationship with you. They're having a relationship with the fake person that you're presenting to them, right? So that's why authenticity matters. You don't get anything out of prolonging the death of those relationships. They're already dead. You just don't know it yet. Or they're not, but you got to be authentic, right? They've already transformed. That's all I wanted to add to that part.
No, that's a great point. And that's why I think see, a lot to that point about how you will find out who you really are and you'll start to like that person. A lot of people that I know who are still in the cult, who are still on the propaganda feeding tube. Oh my gosh, there's one that hurt a lot at the time. One of my oldest friends, her profile is, I haven't seen it in a while, but 'cause she spectacularly in front of me. Her profile is hilariously sad. It's exactly what you'd expect right now. It's a white woman with a bunch of BLM stuff everywhere, calling Trump people names, putting down an elite woman who, by the way, who is very rich and can afford to sit at home during the lockdowns, and criticizing people who are against lockdowns, who want to provide for their family, like that kind of a person. That's who she's become. And it's gotten worse. Like, some people during this acceleration are waking up, but you're also having people who during this acceleration are becoming radicalized. Like, she's a radical SJW now. And she wasn't always, I wouldn't say, that extreme. But those people are going to, the thing about them is, and I know this about her, and I know this about a lot of them who are still in it, they don't like themselves very much. Like, I didn't like myself very much. How could you? Because you're participating in a lie. And you deep down, I truly believe deep down, we know when we are living unconsciously. We know when something's off. We know when we're not. We know when we're engaging in dishonest denial. Deep down somewhere we know. And so those people, they use copious amounts of porn, pot, alcohol, shopping, entertainment. They chase like social media validation and social validation in their circle like a drug. They're trying to numb themselves so that they can stand being around themselves, and they sleepwalk through life. I'm not talking about intermittent use of any of those things, by the way. I'm talking about people who that is their God. Are these different vices and these things that help them kind of sleepwalk through life because they are deeply unconscious. And so if that sounds familiar to you, know that the longer you stay on this path towards truth and being honest with yourself and other people, like, you're going to get further and further away from that. And if you have any of those small gods, like, you're going to start to leave them behind bit by bit. Like, you're going to get to that place of really authentically loving yourself. I know this sounds like a self-help thing all of a sudden, but it's true. Like, that will happen for you. And it's hard to see it when you're in the rubble. That's why I guess I want to talk about this, because I know so many people are waking up right now because the dystopia has gotten so out of control. They can't help but see it. And then they're wondering why people in their lives don't see it too. And why do those people think they're the crazy ones? And they're struggling.
Every time
really
the left levels up, yeah, some people go with and some people stay back.
Yes.
And that's just another divide, right?
Yes. And if you are one of the ones waking up, yes, it gets easier. It's going to get, you don't trust me. I know you don't see it now. I know you sometimes won't believe it now, but it's going to get so much easier, and it's so much easier not to live by lies. And it's so much more rewarding. And you're even going to look at like the winnowing away of friends and things that those things you're afraid of losing. You're going to get to a point where you look at some of those things as a blessing. Like, that's impossible to believe when you're in the middle of it. But after you're done with the grieving in the morning, I look back on those things and I'm like, thank God. Thank God the wheat was separated from the chaff. Thank God I had that, you go through that cleansing fire and you find out what's important, and you attract more meaningful things into your life and more meaningful friendships, and your foundation is solid because you started and you really looked at it and you examined it and you built it consciously from the ground up. What do I believe in? By the way, those people that are still in the cult, like the former friend I mentioned, it doesn't matter to them that you oppose white supremacy and fascism. It doesn't matter. You can try to explain that over and over. They can't hear you. What you're saying to them is that, white supremacy and fascism is just as evil as social justice and Marxism. They're equivalent evils, right? They don't understand that because they're beholden to the latter. They're in the social justice and the Marxism. They don't understand what you're saying. And they view, as you've pointed out, Carter, they believe, like if you look at the Antifa handbook, for example, they believe, Carter's done this, he's read it. If you're not a Marxist of some kind, they believe you're a fascist. They only see the world in this dichotomy. So they don't even understand what you're on about. If you're not one in their cult, you're a fascist, you're alt-right, you're all, that's what they're going to call you. And they don't understand.
And they may not even understand. Some of them don't even understand it because they haven't necessarily done the work to read the stuff, but they know what to parrot and they know what the answers are. And they have, at this leveling up, when it's become too much for you and you've started to wake up, you got to recognize the people who leveled up with the left's leveling up, they're that much deeper into the cult, right? It's not that they didn't move and you didn't move and the left moved. The left leveled up and everyone made a choice. They made a choice either to self-delude further and join them, or that was a step too far of self-delusion and they stepped back and started questioning things. So if you're in the latter category where you stepped back and started questioning things, you got to understand the people who've leveled up with the left and done that, voluntarily, they're there. They chose self-deception. So they're even more embedded into that ideology than you were 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, or a month ago, whenever, right?
They're
because
in deep.
they doubled down. They chose that path.
They're in deep.